Welcome back, and in this segment we will be talking about the Egyptian American football, which was established in Egypt starting from the year 2014 for males and for the year 2015 for females. Right now we're interested in the female American football team in Egypt. Actually, we have 5 teams, the first of which was established in 2015. And they were called the Pink Panthers, I think. And then after that, there were several teams as well, including that of She-Wolves. Today, we're happy to have with us one of the She-Wolves team members, and she is Miss Asmaa Marai. Also, we have the PR director of the Egyptian Federation of American Football in Egypt, Mr. Michael Ackad. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first of all,
I think let's move on first to this report. We're going to bring you more about the American football because I think it's something very, very interesting. And in Egypt, we'd like to know more about it. And we'll be back to start with our guests for more about it.
American football, a sport which is accused all the time of being very tough and even violent. So it's not suitable at all for women. But for the fans and players of this sport, they do have another opinion. And where? Here, in Egypt. Recently, in specific on Friday, the 18th of November, it was the launch of the first league of American football. Guess what? For women. 100 Egyptian girls chose to play this relatively tough game, American football. The Pink Warriors, one of the teams participating in the league, consists of 37 players. In October 2015, the team started only with 25. Ayman Nasr, one of the coaches, explained that the girls do not play contact football, but flag football, where girls wear flags around their waists, and when their rivals pulls the flag, the game stops. So it's not that tough, as the case with men. The girls described American football as a new, enjoyable game, which requires a lot of fitness and intelligence in the same time. Also, one of the girls said that most important thing in American football is that it requires the spirit of teamwork. If you are selfish, your team will never win. Well, 2015 was the start for American football for women in Egypt, and it seems it will grow faster than we can imagine. Nermeen Abdurrahman for Nile TV International.
Welcome back. Actually, just after what we have seen, let me start with Asmaa, and you will tell me more about this game again, because we would like to hear from you, especially that still it is something new for us.
Well, it is relatively new. It's been around since 2015. I mean, that's the first team that's ever started. It's the Pink Warriors. It started at the end of 2015. And then the She-Wolves started a few months later, like in the beginning of 2016, in February. And it's new, it's interesting, and Egyptian women like to try everything new. It's different. It's got it all. It's a physical sport and it's a mental sport at the same time. You have to be mentally present. You can't just, play.
You call it Pink Warriors?
Yeah, no, actually we're the She-Wolves, but that first team that's ever started was the Pink Warriors.
yes. Yes.
What
would you like to tell us?
No, it's just that I respect any woman who's trying this sport out, because it's truly a marvelous sport.
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Michael about the start of the American football, because it started with the male team in 2014. So would you please tell us about the start of it?
Yes, sure. Well, to be honest, it started a bit earlier than 2014, but on an unofficial basis. It started around the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, but it was unofficial, like I said. Just a few players who had played abroad and they lived abroad, they came over and then through social media started just practicing together and playing together. And then around 2010, the sport got picked up by a chain of sports teams. And then that took place for 2 years. And then that program was stopped. And then we started the new phase, or the new official phase, which is the Egyptian Federation of American Football, in 2014. And since it started with, actually now we have 6 teams. So in 2 years we have 6 teams with 2 more teams that are under development that are supposed to be joining hopefully in next year. That is with around 500 athletes. What is very remarkable about this is that, like I said, we started with the male team or the men's team. And then we found that the fans and a lot of the fans and their friends, which are ladies, they were very interested in joining the sport. And they said, why don't we start playing the sport in women as well? So that's how the whole story started last year with the Pink Warriors, then the Wolves followed, then the Eagles followed, and then we have 3 teams that are established with 3 more teams that are under development. So it's rapidly growing.
But Asmaa, talking about the idea of joining this game, because what qualifications, what skills, what are you playing from before you joined this game, for example? How did you prepare yourself? How did you get the idea?
Well, that's the beauty of the sport. Anyone can play. It doesn't matter what your size, your weight, your height. It doesn't matter if you have an athletic background. Every position has certain requirements, so anyone can play it.
So it doesn't require physical fitness, for example?
Well, you develop physical fitness.
But I mean, you don't have to be playing something before it, I mean. Or
not necessarily, no. We have people who, like, the first time they've ever played sports is American football. And you have athletes, you have people who were professional athletes and then they quit. And that's what's beautiful about it, is that you think, you know, you were never going to play professionally again if you played the sport before, but then you get a second chance with American football. So that's the best part about it.
Michael, I'd like to ask you about the game itself, because soccer is what's usually popular in Egypt, but football, we've always looked at it as a rough game. Now, I understand from what you've mentioned that before the interview that actually the female football, the way it runs is totally different, or in a sense different than the male in terms of the outfits, in terms of the contact as well. So would you tell us more about the popularity of it in Egypt and about the difference between the performance or the rules of the game for the males and the females?
Sure, no problem. First of all, I'd like to stress on what Asmaa said, which is the sport is one of the most inclusive sport there is. It doesn't matter if you're big, you're small, you're short, you're tall, you're fast, you're not that fast. You will find a position that suits you in football, and that's very, very good. It does require for some positions, some physical fitness, but you develop that as you practice, and that's very good. The other thing that is making football a very big hit in Egypt, it is a truly team sport, and that's very important. Every person has a specific role, a small role in a bigger picture, and if they do that role right, the whole team succeeds. If they don't, the whole team. And that's very important because it's very rare in American football, for example, to have one player who is very highly skilled that takes the ball from one end of the field to the other end, and then they score on their own. That is nearly impossible to do in football without the other players as well. So that's very important, and that's why it develops a very strong bond between the players. Because after a while, with playing with the same people that you depend on them, you develop a very strong sense of trust with these people. And that's why it's a very strong bonding sport. Now, when it comes to the difference between the men and the women's football, there's 2 types of football. There is tackle football, and there is flag football. What the ladies are playing is called flag football. It doesn't have that much or almost any contact. They wear a sort of belt with 2 flags on the side, and while they are running, if somebody wants to stop them, all they have to do is run alongside them and grab that flag. If they grab that flag, the play stops, and they stop and then they restart, which is different than the male version of the sport, which is tackle, which is the more physical sport. And that's where we start wearing this stuff we have in front of me over here. This is the majority, if I may. This is what almost everybody has to play in order to wear in order to play. We have a helmet. So this is a helmet. Of course, it protects your head. It has a face mask, and it has what is known as a mouth guard. You put that in your mouth to protect your teeth. This is the helmet. Then we have a shoulder pad, and here it's covered with a jersey. There's a shoulder pad underneath, and that's meant to protect your chest and your shoulders and your back. Having said that, I need to clarify something. This is the basic equipment. There's other stuff as well. You need to wear pants, which are padded pants, and you wear what are known as cleats or shoes. They're very similar to soccer or regular football shoes, but they have more ankle support because we kind of move differently than soccer players. So having said that, this is all for protection, and this is very important to clarify, because there is this very strong sense that the sport is very, very, very violent, or that it is, how do we say it,
unregulated. You can say it is a tough game?
It's a physical game. It
Yes.
requires some contact, but a lot of other sports require contact as well. Handball requires a lot of contact. Water polo requires a lot of contact. It's not that different, and that's, it may surprise you, there are actually so many rules and regulations that govern the sport to prevent unnecessary violence. And that's very important. It's a physical sport, but it's not a violent sport. And also, excuse me, so all of this is just for protection, for like sort of a just-in-case scenario. But it is not as physical as people think. The problem is a lot of Hollywood movies just focus on the physical part and they exaggerate it. While in truth, if you watch a real live American football game, it's not as what do we say, as violent or as horrible or as painful as they make it seem. Are there injuries? Like any sport, there are injuries, but you'd be surprised that the statistics are not that huge of a difference between football and any other sport, and that's very important to clarify. So this is the difference, the main difference between the ladies' football and the gentlemen's football. Another difference is the number of players on the field. The men's football, you have at one time, each team has 11 players on the field, so you have 11 versus 11. While with the ladies, it's either 5 versus 5 or 7 versus 7. So that is another difference. Excuse me. That is another difference between the ladies' football and the men's football.
What about training, Asmaa? How training, your lifestyle? How are you dealing with the game? I mean, tell us more about it.
Well, it's a game that requires like really good conditioning. You have to be in good form, especially if you're going to be in the field the whole time. You really have to be in good shape. So most teams practice around 3 times a week. You know, but it varies. Right before the season, it can increase, it could decrease if you're just off season. And
practicing the game, but not any other physical fitness.
No. Of course, there's physical fitness. I mean, it requires a lot. It's a demanding game, and that's what's amazing about it. I mean, you have to be. It doesn't matter where you started; it's where you get. So.
But once you start, your life will change.
It is. That team will become your family. You'll spend more time with that team.
This is my point. How did it change with you?
Well, I don't know. It's like, you know how sometimes like someone walks into your life and you wonder how you ever lived without them? It's sort of that way with your team. You feel like, yeah, I can remember not having that part of my life. You feel like it's such a big part. How did I live before I knew these people? They're a huge part of my life right now. I mean, that's the beauty of American football.
Now, what sort of training do you get? Like, do you do a bit of running, then you go to the gym? What do you do? Would you tell us more about the training sessions itself?
Oh, well, so many things. I mean, you have to focus on fitness, speed training, agility, because that's the best part about American football. Well, catching, passing, the whole. Focus on skills, and you focus on conditioning and fitness and agility at the same time. So you have ladder drills, you have speed drills, agility. It's actually really fun. You don't get bored in training.
But are we working to make it much more popular in Egypt?
Yes, we actually are. The fan base for the sport, as you imagine, at the beginning was very, very small. It was mainly players and players' families, maybe some of their friends. Some of their friends, another part of their friends were not interested. But with all the, let's say, all the buzz or all the noise that's happening around the sport, for both the ladies and for the gentlemen, it's gaining a lot of popularity. We have a very strong social media presence. For example, the federation, like Facebook page, has around 17,000 followers. who are constantly interacting and following what's new and coming to follow us at games. Attendance at games is growing. For example, we had earlier this year, at the beginning of May, we had the first ladies' friendly football game between the Pink Warriors and the Wolves. That was in the Olympic Stadium. That had around 1,000 people in attendance. And then we're having these days, we're having the first league, the first ladies football league. It's actually the first in Africa and the first in the Middle East. It's over 3 weekends, so 3 Fridays. So today is the second Friday. It's in New Cairo. It's in a stadium in New Cairo, the Central Bank Stadium. Last week we had an attendance of around 600 to 700 people, and we expect the same this week and the next week. So the game is gaining a lot of popularity. We get a lot of questions on both the website for the federation or the social media channels. We get a lot of questions. How can we join? How can we help? It's very interesting. And also the media is very interested as well, because it's something different. Like you said, different. It's something new. It's interesting. People want to know more about it. And we're trying to be able to provide as much information as we can, correct some misconceptions if there are any, and hopefully we want to grow the sport as much as we possibly can, because it does add a lot of value and a lot of benefit to whoever plays it.
What about our international participation? Have we entered any international competitions yet or not yet?
Well, in 2014 there was an African qualifier. The World Cup was in 2015. We had 2 active teams in Africa at the time, or before that, which was Egypt and Morocco. And that's when we, as Egypt, gained the membership of the IFAF, or the International Federation of American Football. And then we had organized a qualifier, or an African qualifier, and whoever was going to win would go on to go to the World Cup. And we organized this game actually here in Egypt. And we played Morocco, but unfortunately we didn't win that game. Morocco won that game. And then that was our first, how do I say this? Our first official appearance on the international scene.
You're talking about both male and female, right?
No, in 2014 it was just male, because the female teams hadn't started yet. They started in 2015. So that was our Egypt's official appearance on the international scene. And then we are currently trying to, we're in a lot of negotiations to have, hopefully early next year, an international game. It's a friendly international game for both ladies and for the men, with a country's team, but this is still under negotiation, so I can't really give any more details, but we are definitely going to show up a lot more on the international scene as the Egyptian national football team for women and for men.
So Asmaa, right now the league that is taking place is male and female, or female only, or what?
I don't know. We're starting out with the flag football league for the ladies, and I think the guys start in February, right?
End of February, beginning of March. So right now it's the ladies.
Because I want to know as well the popularity of the game for females as well.
Well, right after the first game, which was held last May, a lot of girls have watched the game and they realized that it's truly fun and really exciting. And we had tryouts, and the other teams had tryouts, and like there were 2 teams.
Who is the coach, by the way?
Well,
talking about the coaches in general, I mean.
The coaches are usually players from the men's team, and they're doing a great job. I mean, they're usually helping with coaching the men's team, so they're doing a great job coaching the ladies' team. Most teams, the girls' teams, rely on the guys for coaching mostly. Anyway, after the games, we had a lot of girls who saw the games and they were really excited to try out. And hopefully after this league, we'll have like so many more girls, because there are so many new teams forming, so there'll be more tryouts, there'll be more girls who are, interested to try it out. It's actually worth trying out.
Yeah, if I may add something actually. When it comes to the coaching, the men's teams last season, we had 6 teams, like I mentioned, for men. 4 out of the 6 teams had an American head coach, and that American head coach was handling the team supervision of the team, and they had coaches under them who were helping out, or assistant coaches who were Egyptians and who are players. So those coaches are learning from our American head coaches, and then some of them are the ones who are handling the coaching for the ladies' teams. So they are actually players from the men's teams, but they're actually also assistant coaches under very well experienced American coaches. And when it comes to the popularity among the ladies, right now in the league we have 3 teams, as I mentioned, the Eagles, the Wolves, and the Warriors, the Pink Warriors. I would say the average number of players per team is 30, so we have around 90 ladies in that league. And we already have 3 more teams that are being developed or at the final stages of development, which are the MSA Tigers, an AUC team, and the BUE team. And if we say that we have 30 more players per team, so that's 90 more, so that's 180 players, or 180 to 200 players that are currently or within the next very few months ready to play the game. And not to mention, like I mentioned before, all the requests we're getting, the people, both males and females, they're very, very excited to join. They're just, at the beginning, to be honest, they're a little worried, they're a little skeptical, will this work for me or not? But then when they start joining, they're hooked.
Now, Asmaa, the national competitions for the ladies have started. Now, which team do you feel that is the most challenging for your team, for the She-Wolves?
Yeah, I can't answer that question objectively, really. But
as a player, whom do you feel, oh, I'm not worried, but I'm really anxious about playing against that team on that day, or you're comfortable with all the games?
I am. I believe in my team, and the competition is really close. The 3 teams are really good, and that's what's fun. Like the first week, it ended, and no one knows who's going to win. Like it didn't give you a hint or anything. There were 2 games last week, 2 games this week. It's still the competition is still wide open. I mean, you're excited to play. I mean, we had a team, but we didn't have anyone to play against, so you know, the competition is the best part, and not knowing is also like great. I mean, you walk in and you think, that's too easy. What's fun about that, you know? But I do believe in my team anyway.
What do we need to put it on the map, to make it something, I know, of course, it is reality, but I want it to be more, you know, what do we need? What are the challenges we are facing? To be like tennis, like squash in Egypt, like football, all this.
Egyptians, I don't think, will ever embrace American football like they, you know, like football, like soccer. It will never be the same. I mean, that's
like football of our football.
Yeah, like our football.
Nothing will be like the football in general.
Yeah, that's like we're addicted to that.
But I mean, like swimming, like the championships that Egyptians are used to follow and to move and to take their children to start playing something like this. Do you think one day people will be interested to take their children, or I mean, in general, to join this game, for example?
Yeah, I think if you know, if we started, you know, having a bigger international presence, Egyptians love to support any national team. So if we have an international presence, it doesn't matter what sport we're playing.
So
they'll be there for the team.
You feel that we can do this in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, yes, like I was saying.
What about funding, for example, the teams and?
Well, all
because
the teams,
it looks like what you're talking about right now, it's all your own efforts, I mean, so far, in a way or another.
Right now, all the teams are self-funded. They're funded by the players. They pay, for example, monthly fees, and they buy their own equipment. That is one obstacle, because it is a sort of, it's more expensive than soccer or regular football, because you just need shorts, t-shirt, and shoes. It's a bit different, as you can see, especially for the men. The ladies, it might be a bit easier. Yes, funding would help. Sponsors would help greatly. We are currently in discussion to get sponsors for a lot of things, because it will make our lives a lot easier. This is one thing. Media attention is very good to be able to spread the sport, and that's actually happening very well right now, and we're getting a lot of media attention. Another thing which is very important, like you said, we need to raise awareness of the sport among the audience, because it's important. And that comes in 2 areas: educating the adults who are attending, either families, friends, whoever comes to the games. And the other part is starting the education at a younger age. So having football academies for young girls and young boys in schools. That will also, of course, obviously, younger age, like below 19 or 18, they play flag. They don't play tackle football. But having the education from an earlier age develops the love for the game and the excitement for the game at a very early age. For example, if you think about it in the United States, which is the motherland of the sport, children of all ages love to watch football. They watch football, they watch the NFL games, they watch college games, high school games. It is an event. And that's what we're trying to get as well. You're not just coming to watch a sport, you're coming to have a whole experience. So you're coming to get food, there's good music, there's a game playing, there's challenges, there's maybe giveaways, there's a lot of cheering. It's a whole game day experience. You're not just coming to watch a game you know nothing about and leave. That's the important part. And that's what we're trying to work on in order to increase the awareness of the game, both in adults and at a younger age, because these younger kids, they're the future of the sport if it's going to have any future. So we want to be able to get young kids excited about the game. And once they start, like I said, like with everybody else, once they start playing, they can never stop.
Now, I'd like to know what got you started, Mr. Michael? What made you decide, oh, I'd like to
Well,
enter the American football?
I started football at the very beginning when it was the friendly, unofficial way in 2006, 2007. I was told to come and show up, let's try it, by friends who had been there like a couple of weeks, maybe a month before me. And I went there, like I said, it wasn't as organized as it is now, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. That's when I started playing. Then I stopped for a while because of personal commitments, work, stuff related to that. And then I came back to playing a year ago maybe. I stopped for a couple of years in the middle. And I have to say, it's very challenging, and I'll tell you why. Because I am 29, okay? So I'm a bit on the older spectrum of the sport. We have a lot of very, very talented, very, very good players that are averaging 24, 25 years and as young as 19 that are really good. So it's for a person like me, it's very challenging to stay relevant in something like this. And that's the good thing. The family, there are two main things that are very drawing for me to keep playing. First of all is the very strong, like Asmaa said, the very strong family community you build with those players and those people on your team, because you truly develop a sense of trust and family and brotherhood with these people, or sisterhood in that case. And the second thing is it makes you want to almost constantly challenge yourself. Be better, be faster, be quicker, be more enduring. It has two aspects. It has a physical fitness, and it has a very big fitness that's often mislooked, or overlooked, sorry, which is mental fitness. You need a lot of mental fitness to be able to endure a very long game, because we have 4 quarters of 15 minutes, and it's a physical sport, like I mentioned. So by the 4th quarter, you're very, very tired. So it takes a lot of mental toughness to be able to stay focused, do your job, and execute your job perfectly to be able to, for the whole team to win. So that's for me, that's what it is. It's the challenge and the brotherhood with everybody else on the team, and in the football community in general. We're a very close community. Even among rival teams, we're very close. The whole community is.
I think there's also something that is really interesting about the matches in general. As you mentioned right now, I think you'll agree with me, talking about it is not I'm going to watch a match, it's the idea of a day out. And this is exactly what we are looking for, this sense of teamwork, the sense of getting along with the youth, because definitely this is important if we are talking about how do we look at our youth and what do they want to be in the future. How can they benefit from this one day out, for example?
Well,
I don't know whoever can answer. Yes.
No, it's different. You know how Egyptians, whenever they want to go out to eat, they go to the movies, they go to malls. It's really boring. This is like an event. It's a whole day out. It's different. It's fun. And I know.
How do you organize the day? I mean, because you're suffering of funding as well. So you have music, you have, of course, you have eating, because no event without eating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, organizing it is it's a bit challenging. We have to do the individual things. We have people assigned for everything. So we have people, I'm assigned for PR, some people are assigned for organization, some people for marketing and so forth. So some people go to reach out to, for example, food vendors, and we have a lot of very good food vendors coming to the events. We have to talk with the field, and I mean the people who provide the grounds for us to play, the venue. So we have to discuss with them and work out a good deal. And like I said, the funding for this, almost all of it comes from membership fees for the teams or for the federation from the players. Of course, right now, people who have been, and we're trying every year to make things better. So people who were here last year can notice a difference this year, a big difference this year. But we can make it a lot better, a lot more fun. But like I said, the problem is with the funding, and what we can do, this is what we can do right now given the current resources. If we have more resources, it can be a lot more interesting. And one other thing that the audiences at the games can benefit from is to see how every team is very disciplined, and that's very important. The coach is speaking, nobody else is speaking. You're given something to do, you talk, you don't talk. You have a problem with a referee's call, you don't discuss, you don't argue, you don't fight. And that's very important. That's very important. You just learn discipline and get, if one thing from this game, one value, I would love for it to transfer to our young kids is discipline. Discipline and commitment. Because if you don't have discipline and commitment in this sport, you won't last very long. Just you won't be able to keep up. So that's the two things that I would love to transfer from the sport to real life. It's commitment and discipline.
Well, American football player Miss Asmaa Murray and the PR director of the Egyptian Federation of American Football in Egypt, Mr. Michael Ackad, thank you very much for this interview. Thank you
for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a good morning.
We will be going out for a quick break and then we'll be back with more, so stay with us on Breakfast Show.